I went to sleep a few nights ago in my bed and had a dream where I entered into some kind of a portal or a door that had just behind it was just white light. So I went into it, and there were these beings there, these aliens that took me in, and their craft was triangular shaped, and then all of a sudden I'm in Texas. It's like fragments of something, bits and pieces. And I'm in front of my mother's house in Texas, in her courtyard, the chain link fence. And I find myself hovering over the courtyard. And then I'm in the courtyard, standing there at night, and I'm seeing these soldiers standing around. And it all happens very fast. I'm darting about, walking about. It's like a speeded up movie. And I see Beniico there, and I see my younger me. He's about 20 years old, and he's standing across the street looking terrified. I mean, sad and terrified. And I'm perfectly comfortable with the experience. I collect Beniico from this encounter. I collect her, and she says some things to me, she talks to me, and we get back aboard the craft and leave the area. Now, this isn't the first time that I've dreamed something like this, with this much detail. So, because it had so much detail in it, it falls out of dream and becomes something that I can't help but call it an experience, because I have to sit here and I remember it like something I did. And I felt a lot of love from her. She bonded with me. She was very loving. The only thing that concerned me was when I woke up the next morning and I was going to work. For some of you who don't know, I'm not just an author, but I also work for a company as a gardener, and I cut their grass and I do gardening work. It's one of my passions. It may be another book I'll write about gardening, my own research on gardening, tips I've picked up from other experienced gardeners, what I've done. It's like a totally unrelated subject matter, but I cover a wide variety of books in my material anyways. So it may be something that I might do at some point. I've got a varied profession, kind of issues of different areas. So I was getting ready for work for this company, and the only thing that concerned me was the repeating time loop dilemma. Am I going to be repeating these events forever? Am I going to be going back in time and saving Beniico forever? For those of you who don't know, you're new to me. I'm an experiencer with a UFO occupant who's identified herself to me as the name Beniico. And we met in 1992. I was 20 years old, through a telephone call. She was in the custody of some kind of military intelligence of the United States of America. She had indicated to me many things about her identity, her origins, that she was an extraterrestrial human hybrid. She did say there was a man on Earth in those time periods in 1992 who was channeling a being who was an ambassador from their race. She didn't say the name without putting names in the video, because YouTube is very strict about that right now. But there is a gentleman in Las Vegas, who channels an extraterrestrial, very, very well-known man. And I'm going to say, I believe that though she didn't give me the name, I think that was the man she was talking about. and so she's from his race. Okay, she's a member of them. And then a few days later, when the call ended, after the phone call ended, I'm out in my front yard, and suddenly in my courtyard at night, I'm visited by 8 or 9 of these black Range Rover RVs that showed up. Military people jumped out of them, armed with weapons. They made a perimeter around my property, around the courtyard, and out of one of the vehicles stepped this girl, where they just bringing her to me to see my reaction. It was some kind of an experiment. Either way, I probably wasn't meant to remember this. It's not something that I was set up to remember by the military. I think I was meant to never remember, never know. Okay, they look upon intelligence and information in someone's head as a physical piece of property that they will argue belongs to them. And that's not conspiracy, that's a fact. You can look it up. Intelligence would look at me and say, what you know about her, or even anything about it, is a piece of information. It's a fabric. It's a solid thing that doesn't belong to you. You have something that doesn't belong to you. It's in your head. Well, to make sure that I do remember, she quantumly fused our souls together. I agreed to this in the phone call. It's like a marriage. We became one soul. And then whatever they did to my memories in 1992, she did predict that in 18 years hence, I would wake up one day and remember all of it. So in 2010, it all came back to me, 18 years after 92. And that's it in a nutshell. So the rest of it's a long story of these hundreds of videos. It's all about how it feels to walk through life, not just knowing what I know or clinging to a memory, but I feel her day to day. In fact, in those 18 years, I was having experiences where I kept seeing a girl with larger than normal eyes, 4-finger digit hands, interacting with me in my sleep at night. There was a love. I've got a lot of notes and diaries from 2003 where I filled up a notebook of experiences with a girl I was feeling when I was in my previous marriage. And how do you say that to your wife? I didn't know how to say to my wife, oh, by the way, I'm connecting to some entity that I'm feeling love with. So it's not something I went looking for, but found me. At the time, she didn't want to reveal to me who she was yet. So I had the love and the connection, and I could see her, but didn't know who I was dealing with yet, or what she was. Not that that's important, but I didn't know what she was. And so because it was all very energetic and spiritual feeling and love, I began to go to these, in 2003, there was no Facebook, but there were websites with forums, chat groups, and so my mind was putting it down as a fairy or an angel. I don't know, it was like, this is what she is, she's a fairy, she's an angel or something. And so she became, in large part, the inspiration to my writings in my early life in those days when I wrote my fairy tale stories for children. And they've been praised as being the best works you've ever read in children's literature. People have been going, this really needs a lot more attention than what it's getting. Because there's so much love pouring, and she was reaching to me. And yet it was like, not yet, you don't know. If you know it's too soon, and that makes sense. It's too soon. To tell our story, one, YouTube really wasn't around in 2003 that I know of. And Facebook wasn't around yet. Not even MySpace was around yet. So I couldn't be opening up to it. I couldn't be opening up then in 2003 about if I had all of it then in 2003, people like Dr. John Mack, who was frequently, he would visit London, England, he would come to England, probably would have met me then. Other others would have met me. I would have probably started off there at that point. But the timing of the recall was in 2010, and that had its purpose, had a reason for that. So Beniico becomes this, I mean, she's this energetic partner, interdimensional, from a luminous various ether universe foam, this other foam, the sphere of control that's out there. We're in a sphere of control of reality that we're in. She's in another luminiferous ether foam, another universe, and the foam in the middle somewhere. She imparted to me a lot of information about the fact where they are 700 years in the future, life on Earth in the 28th, 27th century. Human beings, as you know yourselves to be, Homo sapiens, sharing their lives with her kind very peacefully. But it wasn't so much about sharing information. It wasn't so much about that. It was, you know, getting to know her was more important than knowing what she was or their technology. And that's the main point of my videos. There is a man who claimed to work at a military installation in Groom Lake, Nevada. It was called S4, not Area 51, but S4. Without saying his name in the video, he was a doctor of physics and science who was brought out to reverse engineer and understand how these alien spacecraft worked. And he went public in 1989, 1990. You all know his name, and I won't say his name. The message that Beniico imparted to me to give you in all my videos is to know them is more important than to know the technology and to know what they are. We can talk all day long about genetics, man. We can talk all day about how many fingers she had and the size of eyes and color of skin and draw all these things. Or what would you be more interested in? A picture, a photograph of her, a video, you know, her sitting here at some skin samples, and it's like the search for Bigfoot, you know. And then we've got a hair sample. We've looked at it, analyzed it, can't put it on anything. That's intriguing, but what if Bigfoot could talk to you? What if Sasquatch could have a conversation with you? Wouldn't you want to understand what they believe in their culture, their tribe, their way of life? Wouldn't that mean more to you and have more powerful weight and substance than some DNA samples that say Bigfoot exists? It's such a dead thing. How does that ship work? So and so. That's so cold and empty. It's like, it's just so dead. It's so, for me, it's such a dead thing. I don't care. That's unimportant to me. After having experience with Beniico, I look at that kind of stuff and I think, well, you may have had a reason to do that, sir, but it's a very dead thing to me. You're really missing the big enchilada here. You're missing the whole point. You're missing something that would change your life forever in wonderful, good ways. But it doesn't come without sacrifice. You can't go through life and say the things I've said and do the things I've said online without people wanting to lock you up in the nut house. In any case, in my experience in 1992, when I was 20, I saw my older self, identified as a UFO, flew over the courtyard to rescue her, and I thought an alien was going to hop out and get her. And what shows up is this guy, a middle-aged guy with glasses and a hat, and he comes out, and I didn't wear glasses then, didn't have any of that, you know, and I don't recognize him. And then as I began to look across the courtyard, I began to realize I was looking at me. an older version of me, and my legs went to jelly. In that moment, I thought I was going to go into a dead faint. I was frightened. I was really actually pretty frightened at this point. And the soldier that was chaperoning this, a blonde soldier, she just got tears in her eyes. This is the woman that looked like she could take on anybody and kick their butt. She was a big woman. And she was frightened to the point of tears. And the colonel was asking her what's going on, and she said, "Sir, we're in the middle of some kind of she's a big, tall woman, you know." And she was a sergeant of some kind, and she said, "Sir, I think we're in a self-repeating time loop. These events will go on forever." And I understand that. I researched quantum physics back in my youth, kind of read stuff on it. I knew then. I was looking at me, and then it kind of hits you. Oh yeah, if this is me coming back to save Beniico via the technology of these hybrid beings, well, in theory, then this is an event that will go on forever. I'm always going to be there. I'm always going to be going back there. And this is like the third time I can think I've had this particular, we'll call it a dream or experience, where it was very, very real, very clear. But the events are speeded up, so there's a lot there, a lot of information. And it could be that because I'm passing through energetic dimensional foam and an ether foam above our dimension, it could be different because my brain, the way it's wired, it's not necessarily them blocking my memories. It could be that passing through electromagnetic fields and radiations, don't ask me how I know this, it's like it just kind of comes out of me, is going to have an impact on what I can recall. And by and large, many experiencers have been abducted by aliens are probably not being suppressed in their memories by the aliens. It could just be two-part. These people, well, most people don't remember the experience because they don't want to, they suppress it. Natural defense reaction. Second, because a human being is being dragged through a field that's different than anything they're used to, it's messing with their mind. Now, you can do that, and you can experiment with, I've got some very, very high-powered, ultra-high-powered magnets here. I've got lots of different magnets that are extremely powerful. Now, if you wave these too close to someone's head and kind of wave it around, you get you get like a hazy sensation, like as if you're a bit tired or a bit groggy. And certainly there have been experiments in universities where that's been done, and subjects have felt the next day that the experience of having magnets waved around their head, they couldn't really remember the events very clearly. So it's not like it suppressed the memory, it was just kind of that we're passing through some areas of fields here that are very dense, and different types of fields that will cause effects on memory. So then, therefore, I conclude that scientifically the so-called dream, in my conclusion, was in fact an experience of some form, where I've gone back there to save her again. Now, that was it's a bit concerning. So you quantum physicists and quantum mechanics people will probably know a great deal more about that than I will. And my thought was, in my lifetime, okay, I'm going to see it at age 20, my older me, rescue Beniico, then I'm going to live up to a certain point in my life in the timeline, go back, I'm going to have a memory suddenly one day where I went back to save Beniico, and I saw my younger self now seeing me. Okay, that completes the time loop. Well, alright, but that should only happen one time. Well, no, it hasn't. It's happened more than a few times, and so it's a little concerning, but not frightening. Why am I getting another experience of going back to save? How many times do I have to keep saving her? And then you realize, if this is a repeating time loop, maybe the rest of my life, I'm going to keep going back there to pick up this girl off the street. I'm going to keep meeting me over and over again. But I am aging. I'm going to be 46 this year. It also could be that's not the case. It may be an echo in time. It could be like an echo, a quake, if you will. Like, this was the experience. There it is. I did it the last few days. Whatever I thought I saw the last few years 4 or 5 years, even back in time, where I said I had this, it wasn't very clear then, perhaps that was an echo of this event. And it sent something back to me in time where I was picking it up from the future when I did go back to get her. I don't want to confuse anybody. But there's a possibility that a human, the consciousness is a quantum thing. And it's connected to the luminiferous ether, to the foam, to the other dimensions, other realities, all the time. So, perhaps because I'm always connected in that sense, I can pick up the echoes of an event of time travel going on from the future. I hope that's the case. It is a little concerning to think that I'm going to keep running back there over and over again, repeatedly meeting myself. Hi there. Time and time again. At some point, you got to stop and ask these little guys, wait. You're the scientist. You little guys you know what you're doing. How often am I going to be going back to that road? Something to ponder with. It's quite fascinating stuff, really cool stuff. Not scary, but it is rather interesting. Is it time travel? Yes. Is it human technology? No. Do they know what they're doing? Yeah, I hope so. I really do. I'm sure they do. They know what they're doing. We'll end that on this positive note. They know what they're doing. And I do love her very much. The love is constant and permeating and flowing, and between us, we're one. So we're constantly in a field of perpetual emanation of love that is, I want to share with you. I want to keep bringing out. I want to keep sharing that more than anything. That's the most important message. Is this love, wherever the source, whatever you want to accept about these experiences I'm bringing you, I want to bring you this. Not in the sense of religion or New Age, but just that this is the love that breaks down all barriers between anything, Christian, Muslim, black, white, doesn't matter. It's a very unifying, equal, unconditional, compassionate, non-judgmental love that we share with each other. And it's like a bright emanation of light from me and from her, from us. And so I don't see the issue in sharing it and bringing it out to you. And I hope that in that you get to know them better than hearing about a technical video of a guy that tore these UFOs apart, their craft apart. It's a very cold, mechanical thing. Do you want to know who was in the car, the kind person driving the car, or do you want to talk to the auto mechanic who tried to understand how the car worked? It's your choice. Thank you for subscribing, and we love you.